Since childhood, we were taught that family is sacred, untouchable. That no matter what happens, no matter how deep the wounds, we must forgive, we must stay, we must endure in silence. But what if that loyalty has become a chain? What if love, instead of protecting, is being used as a tool for control? And what if the very people who were meant to love you are the ones holding you back from living as your true self? Carl Jung, one of the deepest thinkers of the 20th century, saw this quiet conflict within the human soul. He didn't just explore the mind, he uncovered the invisible patterns within families. How shame is planted, how guilt becomes a leash, and how emotional wounds are passed down like an inherited legacy. Jung didn't tell you to walk away. He simply invited you to see, with honesty and without denial. And once you see clearly, you can never return to the blindness that once felt like home. This is not a call for rebellion. It's a quiet awakening of self-respect, of daring to name what is no longer healthy, even when it comes from those we've loved the most, and of having the courage to say, this is not love, and I can no longer trade myself away just to keep it alive. 1. Emotional manipulation. When love becomes an invisible burden. They say they love you, but that love doesn't feel like a safe haven. It feels more like an unspoken contract filled with conditions. If you truly care, you'll do this. You hurt me when you choose to live your own way. You're being selfish. At first, it's just a sigh, a subtle look, a hint of disappointment. But over time, you start to shrink. You tiptoe in your own home. You trade your truth for what they call peace. Carl Jung called this psychological possession, when someone else's unhealed emotions take root inside you and begin to dictate your choices, your voice, even your sense of worth. Most of the time, these behaviors don't stem from malice. They come from pain that hasn't been faced, and instead of healing their own wounds, they unconsciously try to manage them through you. So you become the healer, the listener, the bearer, the one who keeps the family calm beneath the surface. You try so hard to be the good child, the hope, the one who is never allowed to fall apart. But that's not the role your soul came here to play. You weren't born to be a shield for someone else's insecurity. None of us were meant to carry the disowned emotions of the adults around us. If you continue this way, you'll remain trapped in a cycle that was never yours to begin with, and you will never truly live the life that is. Seeing this is not about blaming, it's about release. So you can begin a new circle, where love is no longer measured by how much of yourself you're willing to lose. 2. When your true self becomes something to be denied. Don't say that. Why do you always have to be different? You're embarrassing the family. These words don't need to be loud. They only need to be subtle enough to make you pull back a part of who you are. And slowly, you start hiding the parts that don't fit in. Sometimes, the deepest wounds don't come from a lack of love, but from love that comes with conditions. A love that only accepts you when you match the mold. A love that twists you into something others feel comfortable with. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." That is the journey of individuation, a return to your original self, where your soul is no longer fragmented. But this path is often blocked by collective expectations, family, culture, tradition, beliefs, all echoing the same message. Don't be yourself. Be what we find easier to digest. And when you don't align with what they expect, when you think differently, feel differently, live differently, your freedom becomes a mirror that reflects the insecurity they've never dared to face. They don't mean to hurt you. They're just trying to protect the structure they've always lived within. And they try to force you into that structure, as if you were merely an extension of their comfort zone. But you weren't born to be a soothing shadow for anyone. Not for your parents, not for your community, not for the collective. You are an independent soul, and that soul was never meant to be reshaped to fit into someone else's definition of what's right. And if someone, even someone who claims to love you most, asks you to silence your essence just so they can feel safe, that is not love. They're not loving you. They're loving the version of you that helps them avoid themselves. Truth can hurt, but from truth, freedom begins to bloom. 3. When criticism wears the mask of love. I'm only doing this for your own good. I just don't want to see you make mistakes. You're overthinking. You're just too sensitive. Some words are never spoken with harsh voices. They come wrapped in gentleness, in the name of care, but they leave behind quiet scratches on your soul. They don't shout, "You're wrong." They whisper, "You're not enough, you're off, you're a concern." Carl Jung spoke often of the shadow, that unconscious part of us we refuse to see. And ironically, the ones who most often criticize you are the ones who have never dared to look at their own shadow. When someone says, "You'll never amount to anything," they are speaking to the part of themselves that never dared to dream. When they say, "You're too weak," it's an echo of their hidden fear of losing control. Projection is how the shadow finds its way out. It doesn't disappear, it simply relocates. It clings to you, the child, the loved one, the nearest mirror, reflecting what they don't want to see within themselves. And if you're not conscious enough, you will accept it. You will mistake that voice for truth. You will call the wound love. But as Jung once wrote, projection is one of the commonest psychic operations and also one of the greatest obstacles to self-knowledge. Not every honest word carries wisdom. Not everything wrapped in the name of love is genuine love. You have the right to protect your inner wholeness. You can love someone deeply and still refuse to be the wall they paint their cracks upon. You were not born to carry someone else's shadow. You were born to bring light to your own and to walk away from any relationship that dims that light. 4. Guilt, the invisible thread that keeps you bound. You never call your mother anymore. "After all I've sacrificed for you. If you leave, it will break my heart." At first glance, these may sound like words of love, but beneath the surface, they are emotional control wearing the mask of care. Not every expression of concern is true connection. And not every sadness someone shows you comes from genuine love. Carl Jung spoke of a silent yet powerful force that shapes relationships, inherited guilt, especially when it comes from those we're taught to be unconditionally grateful to. Parents, elders, loved ones. To say no feels like a sin. To create distance feels like betrayal. But here's the truth. Guilt is not love. And true love never demands that you abandon yourself. When someone uses guilt to guide your life, they are asking you to become the version of yourself that brings them comfort, not the version that's true to your soul. And the cost of that comfort is enormous. You lose your sense of direction. You hesitate over every decision, always asking, "Will this hurt them?" instead of, "Is this right for me?" Slowly, you stop living your life. You become a shadow, reflecting expectations that were never yours to begin with. Your dreams are replaced by a sense of duty. Every step you take is weighed down by the fear of causing disappointment. But as Jung would say, waking up is not disloyalty. Waking up is a return to your inner voice, where morality is no longer driven by guilt, but by clarity. Real love does not keep you small. Real love whispers, "Even if your path is not mine, I still want you to be free." The truth is, those who use guilt to bind you may never change, but you can. You can begin to live a life not governed by fear, but guided by awareness. You can choose freedom, even if that freedom makes others uncomfortable. If this message speaks to you, take a moment to like the video. That small act might help a lost soul find exactly what they need. And if you're walking this journey into the depths of the mind with us, don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the steps ahead. Now, let us continue. 5. When wounds wear the mask of normal, they didn't mean it. That's just how they are. Don't take it personally. They've always been like that. How many times have you heard these words? And more painfully, how many times have you repeated them to excuse your own suffering? Carl Jung once emphasized, what is considered normal in childhood becomes acceptable in adulthood. But familiarity doesn't always mean love. It's often just what we've learned to endure. The truth is, yelling, belittling, ignoring, or mocking, even without physical harm, is still abuse. Even if spoken softly, even under the label of family, an insult is still an insult. No one has the right to pierce your emotional boundaries just to satisfy their own ego. They make you question yourself. They make you feel small, ashamed for feeling deeply. They demand forgiveness, but have no intention to change. That's not love. That's control, rationalized through familiarity. Carl Jung spoke of the wounded inner child, that part of us that keeps returning to the very place where it was first hurt, hoping that this time it will finally be loved the right way. And that's why many adults stay in relationships that mirror their old pain. Not because they're weak, but because they've never truly known what safety feels like. And here's what stings the most. The longer you stay in these cycles, the more you believe you deserve them. You start calling it love. You confuse survival with closeness. But Jung would whisper to you this truth. The bravest thing you can do is not endure more, but break the cycle. To say, I see it now, I will not inherit this pain and I will not pass it on, even if that means stepping away from family, even if they never understand, even if you still love them. Because peace is not betrayal, it's a beginning. You are not selfish for setting boundaries. You are not cruel for walking away from what hurts you, and you are certainly not broken for choosing to heal. Carl Jung once said, the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. But it is in that place that the healing begins. Not by waiting for someone else to change, not by begging for an apology, but by telling yourself, I deserve better, even if no one ever taught me to believe that. Because real love, safety, and respect, they are not privileges to be earned. They are human rights, and you never have to bargain for them. You have the right to stop shrinking yourself, to stop apologizing for existing, to stop enduring just to keep others comfortable. You were not born to live in someone else's shadow. You were born to become a whole, radiant human being. As we've seen today, the deep wisdom of Carl Jung reminds us, mental and emotional well-being is sacred, and no one, not even those you love most, has the right to manipulate, diminish, or distort your truth. You don't need permission to live as your authentic self. Just one decision: I will no longer repeat what once wounded me. If something in this message has resonated with you, consider leaving a sign, a like, a share, as a way to send light to others who may also be walking through a similar darkness. And if you feel accompanied on this journey of awakening the mind and healing the soul, don't forget to subscribe to Mind and Meaning so we don't lose each other in the currents of this life. I also invite you to pause for a moment and visit the comment section below. Share with us. What have you experienced while trying to set boundaries within your family or close relationships? Your story, whether long or short, matters. Thank you for being here, quietly but profoundly. And I'll see you in the next video, where we'll continue to explore the deeper layers of consciousness and learn how to live a life that is more true, more free.